Well, who on earth said the wheels are falling off the Wagner wagon? We certainly didn't.
He came from Colney, he's running down the wing. He'll run at you and you can't do anything. He's fucking magic and don't you fucking know. His name is Johnny Rowe.
Chris, you slagged off this former city of culture, but what a fantastic Friday night we had there.
Wow, it's the type of place that you go for a result, isn't it, Jack? It really, really is. No, on a serious note, totally shocked. Was very, very surprised. And I honestly think it was because we turned into Norwich Gritty. We were just so dirty. We just ground it out. It was ugly as hell. But as I said on the last podcast, Jack, who the hell cares? Beggars can't be choosers in the current state we're in. You take a win like that away from home all day long.
It's funny, isn't it? Perception and how different fans view different clubs. And I was watching the highlights. I think it was on the official EFL page. And there were so many Hull fans underneath going, I wish we were nasty like Norwich City. And it's funny because
really?
how often this season we've been like, we're too nice,
yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah. And I think that probably comes from a couple of decisions that maybe went our way. But, you know, we were aggressive and we were in their faces. And as you say, that's probably what got us a result in the end.
It was. And that's, well, aside from a couple of moments of quality as well, Jack, but that's what this team should be about. That's why we signed all of these experienced players, to get results like we did away at Hull on Friday night. So I'm really, really happy with the boys. And I want to be really, really clear, Jack. Like, I really just want to enjoy the win.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw a couple of things on social media after the game. And by the way, it's not where I can't think like this, but I don't blame fans for having this opinion. It was, well, that means Wagner's in a job for another 6 months, Revo, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, just enjoy the win. Like, come on, don't get me wrong, it's turgid, it's crap to watch, it's stodgy as hell. But when you've been how we've been, to go away and get a result like that, you know, you can't really complain, can you, Jack?
Well, one would hope
it's not sustainable, I get that. But who cares?
One would hope that, you know, we're all nuanced enough to go, yes, you know, we need change, but in an isolated period, we can really enjoy that win. I had great fun watching that on Friday night. I said to you off air that, you know, I was just laughing. Just because I got to a point where I knew that Hull weren't going to score. I know they did in the end, but it didn't, you know, amount to anything. But, you know, Gunn was on fire. We had Duffy throwing himself at things. Let's go from the start, because I thought even pre-match was interesting. Actually, for the first time in a very long while, I think we saw positive reaction to the team. And I think, you know, I agree with the majority here. That probably is on paper our strongest team. You've got Sargent back in the mix. You had Sainz in the mix, and he wasn't injured, wasn't suspended. You had that midfield duo. Kenny is now seen as a centre back. You know, he's not seen as like a fit, a kind of a makeshift. People deem him to be a centre back now. How that's happened, I'm not quite sure. You've got Nulis there and Stacey. I think after the summer transfer window, and Barnes, of course, in there as well, you know, the players we brought in and the players we already had, I'd say Wagner saw that 11 as his 11. And for whatever reason, you know, injuries and suspensions and form, he hasn't been able to field that too often this campaign. So that was pleasing.
I do agree with you, and you know, there is a section of fans that will say, oh, why do you constantly give David Wagner criticism, boys? You know, be positive. And So let me make this clear. David Wagner deserves credit for that lineup against Hull. Don't get me wrong. The tactics maybe that were implemented throughout the game weren't great to watch, but the lineup was a strong one. And actually, I thought his substitutes were perfectly timed as well. Something else I've criticised David Wagner for this season was some extremely questionable in-game management and substitutions. I thought that he got his subs right against Hull, and they made an impact, as we know. So, I think that's one of those ones where we can praise it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to kind of field your strongest 11, but no, I get the point. Let's jump straight into the man that everyone is talking about. Not only Norwich City fans, Hull fans included, and a lot of neutrals as well, because obviously this one was televised. And I think most people were picking Hull against Norwich over Luton against Burnley in the Premier League. Johnny Rowe. He is, and actually, I think this performance just epitomised Johnny Rowe perfectly, because for the first half an hour, we were talking on WhatsApp. We should have been doing a watch along, but Chris was too moody to do one. We were going,
typical, by the way.
I know. We were going, Rowe's a bit quiet. Not quite in the game. Mm-hmm. And on that, ploughed field of a football pitch that Hull call home, up pops Rowe, dribbles past a couple of players. And I think everyone is talking about the beating of players in the run. It's the finish for me that is the best bit. Outside of the boot, off balance, players to beat, goalkeeper well positioned, finds a way. And I would probably say there's 5 or 6 players in the entire division that has the ability to just change a game.
Yeah, and he's one of them.
And he is very much one of them. And he's doing it consistently. And I think, when he came into the side and he scored against Hull on opening day,
yes.
And I think there was a moment there where you went, oh, okay, there's something about this kid. But so how often has that happened, not just at Norwich, but over the years at other clubs, where you have a youngster, couple of games, flash, never see them again? Rowe has scored 12 goals this season in different types of games, different types of goals, big occasions, lesser games. He's the real deal.
Well, that goal, Jack alone, is probably chucked another £5 million on his price tag. The ability to beat, I think it was 3 players, wasn't it, before he took it with the outside of his right foot. It's an absolutely ridiculous finish from Rowe, an absolutely gorgeous goal. And every time we talk about Johnny Rowe, Jack, I just smile.
Yeah.
I just smile, and football is for me. Football is about players like Johnny Rowe,
moments,
players that can turn a game, players that get you up off your seat. And actually, I just love the fact that he's Johnny Rowe. He is himself.
Yeah.
He's not a boring, run-of-the-mill, media-trained robot. He is just Johnny Rowe. And there's this whole thing of keep Johnny Rowe on the floor, and be careful a little bit and don't overhype him. We are in the territory of enjoy him whilst we've got him now. This is in Emi Buendia territory for me, in terms of enjoy him whilst you've got him, because he is a ridiculous player. And I'll say something. He's the best academy product I've ever seen in my lifetime. He's the best ever academy product.
Wow.
And I'll put this out there as a question for those watching this now. Oof. Let me know yours in your lifetime, because there's been some.
Did you not get to
brilliant...
see Bellamy?
I didn't see Bellamy. Okay. No, I'm not that old, you cheeky sod. I guess I did watch Robert Green, but for me, he's a GK, right? Johnny is a winger and can make things happen. Such a good bloke off the pitch as well. And a lot of you that follow TalkNorwichCity will have seen. There's an absolutely brilliant channel called
Hull Boy.
It's called the Hull Boy. Yeah,
love it. Straight to the point.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't mess around.
He's a boy and he's from Hull.
Absolutely. And sadly, his father has dementia at the moment. So obviously, as you could imagine, a really challenging time for him. And there's a lovely video of him after the game, Johnny Rowe, going over to the Hull Boy, the Hull fan, and giving him his shirt, and not just giving it, actually, wishing his dad well, and telling him to keep positive, things like that. And by the way, he's done it with us with something that we're going to announce. He's done it so many times. He always has the time for the fans, Jack. I absolutely love Johnny Rowe.
Yeah.
The man can walk on water. He give him the keys to the city. Honestly, I fucking love him, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm not going to do this whole don't hype him up match, Chris. No, sod that. Really enjoy him.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And you know what? I'd maybe twist this a little bit now by saying I'm almost a little bit frustrated with how good Johnny Rowe's been this season, because imagine how good he could have been if we had actually played our best teams, our strongest lineups, played the football that we should have been playing from the off. And I just think to myself, bloody hell, could you have imagined how many goals Johnny Rowe would have grabbed this season if we hadn't been playing such negative crap football?
Well, I think it's a great point, and it almost, you know, backs up that point that he has the ability to find quality in games where he's quiet, because, you know, against Southampton, I know he didn't score in that game, but he came up with the assist. Against Hull, we're sat deep. It's very much try and find something on the counter attack, which we did for the second goal. But for him to still come up with the goods, you're spot on. Imagine him in this free-flowing style where he's getting 4 or 5 chances a game instead of 1.
And it's a massive compliment to Johnny. And a lot of people gave him criticism, weirdly, for scoring 2 goals in the East Anglian derby. They actually said that it was one of Johnny Rowe's worst games. A sign of an exceptionally talented player is when they're not in the game and they still come up with the goods. And at the end of the day, if he keeps doing what he's doing, you're going to be a grand down. And by the way, you're in big trouble again, young man. You were looking good when, you know, there was a little injury niggle to Johnny. David Wagner weirdly kept him out of the team for 1 or 2 games as well. You're in big trouble, my man.
You keep making
big trouble.
This is a bad thing. I want to give the grand away because one, it means Rowe's had a great season. 2, it means a great charity picks up the cash. I think quickly back to Hull Boy.
Go on.
Love Hull Boy. It sums up Johnny Rowe that we've got a Hull City fan who is finding more joy from Johnny Rowe than he is Carvalho that they've just signed. And that sums it up, because sometimes an opposition player will come to Carrow Road and they tear you apart, but you almost go, you know what, I enjoyed the artistry of that.
By the way, watch the Hull Boys channel. And he's a massive. He really, really likes Norwich, and he says a lot of lovely things about Norwich. So big up to the Hull Boy. Just on Johnny Rowe as well, and people remember from watching or listening to the podcast last week, we raised the point about how bad the Bristol FA Cup game was.
Bristol Rovers.
Sorry, what did I say?
Bristol.
Sorry, Bristol Rovers
2
game.
teams in Bristol.
Boring. The Bristol Rovers game was in terms of bleeding in younger supporters.
Yes.
And how that could turn people off.
Yeah.
Johnny Rowe's the type of player where you could imagine kids all over Norfolk with Johnny Rowe posters on their bedroom wall. And like...
Kids, adults.
I've
got a mural on my bedroom wall.
I'm just so proud that Johnny's a yellow. And and for avoidance of any doubt, I can assure everyone watching this, he is the nicest. The nicest. In fact, do you know what? I'm going to give him the new title.
Oh, God.
I've always said that the nicest Norwich player I've ever met, and I only chatted to him briefly, was Jamal Lewis.
Right.
It's Johnny Rowe. He's even nicer.
Really?
He is just the nicest bloke ever. So Johnny, keep it up, mate.
I can't get Johnny Rowe off my mind at the moment. I was sat there Sunday evening. I don't think there's too many better things to be doing on a Sunday evening. I had a cup of tea in hand and I was watching the snooker.
Yeah.
Watching the Masters snooker. And Ronnie O'Sullivan won. Now we all know the joy of Ronnie O'Sullivan and the masterstry that he's found over the years. And I thought Johnny Rowe is the footballing equivalent of Ronnie O'Sullivan, because Ronnie came out after that and he said, he won the Masters. I think that's his 23rd Triple Crown title. And he said, I found a way to win even when I'm not at my best.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at Rowe and I'm going, you're creating memories. You're becoming a superstar. And I don't think he's even in 3rd gear yet. I think he's still cruising in, very much in cruise control.
Do you know what? I'd probably say that as well. I'll chuck another statement out there. By the way, this isn't that much of a big statement, in my opinion. That kid is going to play for the England first team, and not just one day, sooner than you can think. I said it about Maddison when he was at Norwich, that he'll play for England. I'm saying it again with Johnny Rowe.
Also said it about Ryan Bennett.
No, I didn't.
No, I did.
Yeah, you did. I don't get calls
and
wrong,
Rob
mate.
Butler did.
Well, look, anyway, Johnny Rowe, he's going to be in the England first team soon, because he's an exceptional player. We love him to bits.
We love Johnny Rowe. Let's talk about the defence.
By the way, isn't it just funny? I reckon, honestly, we could just rebrand TNC to just, I don't know, talk Johnny Rowe.
Well, why don't we go down the whole boy route?
TJR.
The Rowe boy. The Rowe boys.
The Rowe boys.
Yeah.
I quite like
It's got a ring to that.
Okay. Anyway, let's move it on from Johnny.
Rowe pops up with a bit of quality, like we know he does.
Yeah.
The majority of that game was Hull City with the ball and our defence throwing in last gasp challenges.
Yes.
We've mentioned him a lot this season, and I think he deserves to get another mention, and that's Angus Gunn, who, look, I think often the best goalkeepers are the ones you almost don't really notice. And I think we really noticed the quality of Gunn when Gunn wasn't playing.
Yes.
And George Long came in. And look, I still don't really know the stock of George Long, but what I do know is he's so far off Angus Gunn. Mm-hmm. And that's not even necessarily a criticism of Long. It's credit to Angus Gunn.
He's a Premier League goalkeeper, mate.
I think he is, yeah.
And mate, I was just... I honestly don't think I'm overhyping it. I think that was one of the best, and I know that we conceded, which sounds really weird for me to say this. It was one of the best Norwich City goalkeeping performances for 2-3 seasons. Honestly, and he is frustrated that he didn't keep a clean sheet. By the way, fucking hell, the saves he was honestly he turned into Buffon. It was absolutely ridiculous. The 2 diving saves were like absolute fingertips. It was just exceptional. Angus, exceptional.
And I think if you're a Hull City player, after the 17th shot seemingly has just been saved by Gunn,
you just hold your hands up,
yeah,
don't
you go, you know what, it's not our day.
Yeah, you hold your hands up, don't you?
And I saw a few kind of Hull fans that I follow tweeting like, on another day we score 5, and they do.
And do you know what? I'm so pleased that Angus got a moment with the Norwich fans at the end. Don't forget, he is a Norwich fan as well. Angus is so humble, too humble, I think, sometimes. And I loved it. I forgot who it was. It might have even been Narcissus, maybe the coach, kind of shoved Angus towards the Norwich fans so the Norwich fans could just serenade him with his song. It was richly deserved. Those diving saves, unbelievable. I think he made 3 saves also from shots inside the box.
Yeah.
Just a ridiculous goalkeeper performance. As I've said so many times this season, thank God for Gunn.
And one of the big moments, of course, in that first half was his collision with Connolly.
Yeah.
It was a horrible one.
But neither did wrong, though.
No, I was about to say that. I don't think... Connolly certainly wasn't at fault. The problem with that is unless it's a drop ball, the free kick's got to go one way. It shouldn't have been our free kick.
I agree with that.
Gunny, the only thing with Gunny, but he lifted his knee to jump. That's the way you jump.
That's just natural.
It doesn't help that Connolly is 5 foot nothing.
Without.
But
it's an old-fashioned football challenge, Jack.
Yeah.
And if the game doesn't have them, the game's gone.
But what I'm saying is, let's have some sympathy for her. If that's the other way around, and our star striker has just been injured, you would be annoyed.
Of course, 100%, definitely, mate.
So I think look, Gunn certainly shouldn't have been sent off.
No.
I get the frustration from a Hull.
Yeah.
You're 10 minutes into a game. You've already got injuries to a couple of attacking players. Then Connolly goes off. The one where I think we did get lucky was the elbow from Yanulis. Where
my yellow and green glasses are on with this a little bit, Jack.
I think if that's the other way round, I'm fuming he's not gone.
It absolutely could have been given. It could have been given. I would though also again maybe take the side of maybe an old-fashioned football fan here and say,
what way you could elbow people?
Well, come on, because if you watch it back, he actually brushes over the top of his hair. He does. You watch it back. He brushes over the top of his hair. He doesn't square him in the forehead.
Help his
he doesn't grit his teeth and go like that and square him in the forehead. Again, natural movement, and he's trying to get round him. Look, my yellow and green glasses. I love the Emperor of Norfolk. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying. I'm very, very. Look, we've got away with one there. I agree. I just think there is also an element of, well, come on, he's not squared him in the forehead. So actually, yeah, it could have been given. But don't forget, we watch football. Okay, we're now in this plastic VAR soulless world of like, if I flick the hair on your arm, you're going, oh, and you're rolling around 55 times. Look, Dimmy is fortunate. But I think I'm okay with getting away with that.
The brilliant thing about, you've just acted like sort of an old episode of The Bill where someone's trying to stand up in court and get away with a crime. The amazing thing here and the hypocrisy is that I just know that if we were in the Barclays together, and that's the other way around, this guy's calling the referee's career to be over.
100%.
And that's the joy of football.
100%.
Anyway, it stays on the pitch.
Yes.
It's 1-0.
Yeah.
It's getting towards the end of the game, and you're just going, please hold out, please hold out. The whole attack after attack after attack.
Yeah.
Hernandez had come on 5 minutes
I think we had 4 bookings at that point.
Lots of bookings.
I put a cheeky bet on Norwich to get a red card because I was like, this is just it's gonna happen.
Yeah. It didn't.
It didn't.
Onel comes on.
Yes.
Comes up with a delicious cross.
Unbelievable ball.
And up comes the man that just quietly has been going about business, but
Farsi.
secretly scoring a couple of goals. The Fascinator.
Yeah.
The big Fass.
Yeah.
The C-Fass.
The C-Bass. Well, he did jump like the C-Bass, didn't he? Sorry, C-Fass.
Did C-Bass jump?
I quite like C-Fass.
I love C-Fass.
Right, the C-Fass.
It sounds like C-Fax.
Yeah.
It's a play on both teletext and the lovely meaty white fish.
Right. By the way, right, and here's something. Well, we'll do it. We'll do it at the end of the show. We really enjoyed in the last episode. So many of you got on board with #wagon driver. Sod it. I'll just say it now. If you've watched to this point, you need to post on social, so Instagram, Twitter, obviously X, whatever you want to call it now. #CFAS. Okay, so C and then FASS. CFAS.
It was really funny last week actually. So the podcast went out about 6-7 o'clock. No, it was earlier than that.
Yeah.
And I've started playing five-a-side again on a Monday, and there's a couple of lovely TNC viewers there. And I rocked up, and they said, "Jack, have you arrived in the wagon?" And I'm going, I don't know what's going on. Like, what? It's like the wagon driver. Like, oh, yeah.
It went mental. It just shows the power of the TNC subscribers. Anyway,
Wagonari.
Christian Fastnacht.
The C-Fass.
I'm loving the look of Farsi. I really, really am. Yeah. Just give it to Farsi and see what happens. And do you know what Christian Fastnacht kind of reminds me of? Maybe a bit of a Mario Vrancic-esque type in terms of first season, takes a bit of time to warm up, yeah? But when he's warmed up, he's looking naughty, right? And Christian Fastnacht, and by the way, the goal, and we will go on to praise Anel, as you'd imagine. Of course, we're going to do that.
Shock.
It's a gorgeous cross, but the touch from Christian Fastnacht,
What, off his hip?
it's one of the ones where if Messi or Ronaldo does that, it's getting replayed time after time after time. It's actually, it's with the top of his leg, the absolute deftest of touches. And the way he puts it in, the smile afterwards, straight over to Anel. He knows how good that ball was for Anel Hernandez. I'm buzzing for Christian Fastnacht. He is, in my opinion, an underrated Norwich City player.
You've just made that sound like sort of a Ballon d'Or, not a Ballon d'Or, what's the Puskas Award type goal. What's actually happened is it's had a deflected cross and it's bundled in off his midriff.
Anel
It
Hernandez.
reminded me slightly of the goal. Can you remember when Pookie scored away at QPR?
With his heart,
With his heart.
as Michael Bailey shared the other day.
It reminded me of that.
Anel Hernandez, I'll let you lead.
Came on, was at fault for the goal.
Well, I've watched this back,
Lovely
okay,
Onel.
and don't get me wrong. I think
What
he could
glasses
have.
were you wearing for these
Don't
highlights?
get me wrong. He could have pressed. Right? And
Should have. Not could have.
Sorry, he
Should have.
should have pressed.
Yeah.
And now you should have pressed more, mate. But also, the next man along was Gabby Sarah. Watch it back, and he doesn't close the man either.
Well,
and
one
actually,
would hope that Onel's
he
got
was the
slightly
one.
fresher legs.
And he was the one that was in front of the shot. Okay, look, I'm of course I'm going to side with Anel. Look, Anel should have. I wouldn't say that Anel was at fault for it. Though. I think that's incredibly harsh.
It's a great goal.
Look, 2 assists in 2 games now for Anel Hernandez.
Should be more.
Knows that his numbers aren't where they need to be. Rest assured, he is fighting, working more than he ever has at Norwich City to put this right. Genuinely bleeds yellow and green. Like some of the conversations I've had with him in recent weeks, I can't even put the phone down. He's just so passionate about
I've got to cook
putting
the dinner,
it right.
mate.
He's so passionate about putting it right. But no, look, I think it is now appropriate to say, look, 2 assists in 2 games. This is a real platform for Anel now to build on his numbers and build on his form. And actually, it should have been probably 4 assists in 2 games. Couple of, again, brilliant crosses, cutbacks. for the Bristol Rovers Cup game as well, which should have been finished and they weren't, unfortunately. So yeah, I think Anel deserves praise.
And I think that
what a great. I know that Anel wants to start, right, but I look at him as a sub and I think, what a powerful. You know, the last thing you want.
I think
as a tired player is Anel Hernandez running at you.
I think he's one of those players. If you're a Hull fan, you see him coming on, you aren't scared of him. I thought the nice thing for Anel was so often Onel's classic cross is when he's a classic winger, isn't he? He hits the byline, and he tries to cut it on his left foot.
Yeah.
And that's not been effective for the last couple of seasons. But this one was different. He's hit the byline, he's cut in on his right, and whipped an in-swinger.
Yes.
And it was a delicious cross. I know it's taken a slight deflection, but it puts it makes defenders make a decision, and that's what you want to do. The other cross is simple. You just hook it away.
The other thing
thing
that I would say about it, which is minor, and I don't think it matters that much, but the other thing I'd say about it is, I think it was Ashley Barnes was saying to Sam McCallum, "Go back, Sam, go back." Sam ignored him. And he dinked that ball back to Anel Hernandez before he then whipped that sumptuous cross in. So I also think there's an element of, well, actually, if you play the ball in front of Anel, if you play positive football and he gets more opportunities to get crosses into the box, of course, it's more likely that he's going to be effective. So long may this form continue. Long may it continue, Anel.
Well, Chris, the amazing thing with this, and of course other results occurring over the weekend, Norwich City are now 2 points off of the playoffs. And it's, for those that don't watch Norwich City, and the friends of mine that, either watch this stuff or see our tweets, and they go, "What are you moaning about? You are 2 points off the playoffs." And my reaction is, well, imagine where we could be with a competent manager. Imagine where we could be playing this free-flowing football. Today, we have reeled off Angus Gunn, Johnny Rowe, Gabby Sarah.
Yeah.
You could probably throw. I know Sargent was relatively quiet in this, but Sargent, you have a core of a team here, oozing championship class
that should be at the top end of the playoffs.
Should absolutely be competing for those top two.
Okay. I don't think this season, but definitely the playoffs.
Should be higher up than, and that's my frustration. If you put this frustration aside,
yes,
the positive here is that we are still within touching distance.
And by the way, again, and we've said this probably at least 5 times this season, Jack, this is another great opportunity, to make that change, to bring in a head coach that wants to play a positive style of football, that wants to utilise the tools that he's got. Do you know the thing I keep thinking? I've been thinking about this over the weekend, Jack, and obviously linked to Delia, of course, being a chef. I was thinking, of this sort of analogy around cooking and what David Wagner is cooking at the moment. Right. And for me, what we've signed is a classic chili con carne. Okay. Yeah, that those players on paper should work in the Championship. You serve a chili con carne, it's going to go down well with most people. Yeah, a nice solid chili. Okay, yeah, perfect, great flavours, bit of red wine maybe, lovely. And at the moment, I just feel like David's halfway through cooking his chili, and he's chucking in a fucking parsnip. Yeah, he's throwing in a massive wedge of broccoli or something. It's like, David, what are you doing, mate? It's just cook the chili con carne, man. Yeah? And I just feel like we have got, you've said it already, we've got the ingredients.
The kidney beans are there.
Of a perfect playoff dish.
Yeah.
And it just seems like we're trying to do random stuff with this that just shouldn't be done. Yeah? Just put the kidney beans in. Yeah? Don't use vegan mince, yeah? Just use proper mince. Yeah? Just use the proper ingredients. And for God's sake, if you've got chili, if you've got that Borja Signs, that chili powder, put the fucker in. You can't have a chili without chili. And I just think so many times this season we've tried to cook something that we can't cook with these players. Play to your strengths. Yeah? And that isn't, by the way, parking. I know that we've stopped conceding as many goals. That's not parking the bus with this team. Imagine what this... the other one for me, speaking of cooking a dish, Gabby Sarah, playing in that holding role for me just puzzles me and saddens me.
Yeah.
That honestly, of course, one day he's going to leave the club, and I look at it and I think we're going to really regret not playing him in a forward role.
Well, the reason we're doing it is because we don't have someone that can sit deep and.
Well, we do.
Who?
We do. Kenny, he's having to play at bloody centre back. Although he's doing a great job, by the way. Look, I just think sometimes we're cooking the wrong dish.
I would almost argue that, look, partly it's Wagner, partly that comes back to the man that was here before in Stuart Webber and recruitment. The fact that we've signed the centre backs, but they're deemed not good enough, and we don't have a holding midfielder. I don't think Liam Gibbs is the man. Jakob Sorensen has been injured. I don't think he's the man when he's fit. So. A Gabby Sarr out of position is better than a defensive midfielder that's not.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, let us know your thoughts.
I agree
let us know
with
your thoughts. I think if you can't say these playoffs, these players are top end playoffs, and then you're saying, oh, it's not David Wagner's fault. Like the tactics and lineups have been so weird and wacky.
No, they have.
That they have. Halted this team progressing.
Look, what I would say, so last couple of, let's put the cup game aside, last couple of league results, Southampton 1-1, win away at Hull in isolation.
You take it all day long.
You go, that's a really good period. What I would say, the performances we've seen in both of those, just not sustainable.
Of course,
and I'm really concerned, like mentally, this is a really dangerous place to be in because they're luring you in, they're teasing you, they're getting
They've done it so many times.
They get
this
you
season.
where they want you, and then you face, I don't know, bloody,
Well, look, the next two games.
Yeah, and
you've got an absolute classic FA Cup banana skin in front of you in Bristol Rovers away from home. They will be well up for it, by the way, well up for it. And God knows what team we're going to play for that one. And then you've got West Brom at home. They've already beaten us once pretty comfortably this season. I know that it was only 1-0, but they dominated it really.
Away.
And then Leeds away. So it feels to me, Jack, like one of these situations where we've started to pick up a bit of form. We've done this before this season. And then we fall off a cliff. Again, pin me up in the dressing room, boys. Prove me wrong. I hope that you prove me wrong. I would love it, absolutely love it. If imagine if we beat Brom and I'm doing that thing again, aren't I, Jack?
You're doing it.
But imagine if we won the next two. That's big.
I had a message from someone the other day who is clearly a fan of David Wagner, and I appreciate that. Like from someone that's met and sat down with Wagner for an extended period of time, like we did. He's a really lovely chap.
I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of him as a bloke. Yeah,
great company. But he said, Jack, just give it a rest. And can you film a podcast without spending an hour talking about David Wagner? I don't think it's possible because this is the person that's, everything is revolving around his style and the team he picks, and you have to talk about him at the moment.
Yeah, but Jack, what is important, and we again just for balance here. It's not just, we've said this so many times, by the way, I'm sorry for sounding like a broken record. It's not just a silver bullet solution. You can't just sack David and expect it all to change because, as you've said, Stuart Webber's brought in this set of players. They're going to take some time to adapt to a new style. You've got a split, detached, slightly apathetic, always on the edge of anger Norwich City fan base at the moment that have probably never felt so distant from the football club that they love and support. You've got people threatening to not renew their season tickets if David Wagner is still in charge. And of course, above that, Jack, and something that I do want to talk about is the board. You've got Dealer and Michael at the top as well. So, this isn't just on this. To be abundantly clear, we want to be positive. But this isn't all on David Wagner, of course.
Well, look, if we're talking about the board, there was a banner unveiled at the Hull game.
Yes.
Which read, Delia, it's time to go up the 20%. I think that's what it said. I'm pretty sure you sort of cut off the bottom right. And I think it's also important for context here to add that those that organised the banner and held it up are very much their home and away. So
yeah. They're totally entitled to their opinion. Yeah, of course.
Entitled. And I do get where that sentiment is coming from. I think on the flip side, like, we are in the process of Delia literally going at the moment. That process is in motion with the Atanasios. The Atanasios are here to, one day take, complete ownership, and like that is their plan. So those wheels are slowly in motion. I think the frustration comes from kind of Delia's comments and
Of course.
and
Do you think that banner is getting shown if we'd had a new head coach that was done pre-Christmas when it should have been done?
No,
I don't think so, because I think we'd be in a totally better, different position, and then I think fans would look at it with perhaps slightly more understanding and empathy, and they'd think, well, actually, yeah, you're right, Jack, to bring that up. Well, hang on a minute. Delia and Michael and Jones are going in 2026. That's not quick enough for some supporters, and I understand the frustrations why. I posted on my socials when I saw that, Jack. I understand why that's happened.
Oh yeah,
because fans have reached breaking point, boiling point. They've had enough. And this isn't just this one season in isolation. How many disappointing, opportunities? How many opportunities has this club had to progress, but we've continuously made such poor decisions on those platforms? But I do find it sad, and people were frustrated at me for posting that emotion. But I do, because Delia and Michael and Jones have saved this club. When it was absolutely on its arse. And so I do find it frustrating that we're now in this position. And by the way, I'm not siding with them here, because I'm totally against the comments in the AGM. Were absolutely dreadful, so silly. But I do just find it really sad that we've got to this place where they're getting it seems like they're getting frog marched out by large sections of the supporter base. When given what they've done for the club over the years, I think it's really sad.
I think the only reason things like this happen, marches, banners, protests, is when you have a group of supporters that don't feel listened to. If supporters felt like there was another option, they would act on that option. Like the lads that have, probably gone to great expense to get this banner made and taken it to the ground and got it out like that. That wouldn't have been, I don't think, a particularly popular. It's quite a controversial thing to do. I think in the moment of time, a lot of people love Delia, but you only get to this point from a feeling that it's desperation. It's a feeling
of course.
And I still look back at that AGM, which was just a complete car crash on every front, and the language that was being used by Delia Smith and Michael Wynne-Jones, it felt very Stuart Webber-ish. It felt quite aggressive. It felt quite us against them, and I've never felt that from Delia and Michael before. I've always felt like they are the people that are just in control at the moment, but like the supporters are always above them almost, and it felt like a switch, and that felt like the period of Stuart Webber kind of language that had done that to them. This doesn't happen, I think, if they feel like change has been made, and change hasn't been made, right or wrong, we'll wait to see. And I don't think this happens even if Delia and Michael disagree with the comments from fans, at least taking it into consideration.
Yes.
Comments like, you don't have a clue, along those lines. It's going to happen. And
of course,
I think protests and banners and stuff are important, and as long as they're not offensive, which that wasn't offensive, I think crack on.
And again, to be clear, I get why it's happened. I'm sad that it's happened. But when you are a City fan watching this stodgy style every week, an absolute snore fest on many levels, you're not communicated with because of the limbo situation we're in with David Wagner's position. It's gonna happen.
Before we get on to Twitter questions, before our next league game against West Brom, you've alluded to it. There's a cup replay against Bristol Rovers away from home. I mean, I just look at this and I go, oh, that is literally the last thing you want.
You was anti-cup, Jack.
Well, you've just come back from a long trip to Hull. You get back to Norfolk, and then you've got to turn back round and go to Bristol for this game. Look, Bristol Rovers, I think when they last played us, were probably still hopeful of an outside chance of playoffs. I think that's probably gone now. They lost at the weekend. I was reading under the tweet that I think they lost 2-1 at the weekend. It was like, right, everything all in on the cup now.
Well, and they've got Liverpool waiting for them in the next round if they beat us, and so all the motivation will be there. They're at home. The fans will be so up for it. And this Norwich City team, are super beatable.
Do you think they go strong against as in, do we go strong against them?
I ain't got a clue, mate. I've no idea.
What would you do?
Idea. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Anti-cup.
I'd use the cup to give opportunities to players that haven't had many minutes.
Pedro Lima.
Yeah.
Vicente Reyes.
Yeah. The Lima loan is also so bizarre. I've actually tried to get an answer from the club. Unfortunately, they've not come back to me since. Because we're filming this in the morning. But I've not had an answer on what the situation is with the Lima loan. But from what I understand, initially, there was no sort of buy clause in there or anything. So it's just a bit of a wacky one. But yeah, great finish. For the 21s, wasn't it? It's brilliant.
Pedro Lima is going to be one of those trivia questions in 10 years.
Yeah.
Can you remember Pedro Lima? And we go, who?
I'll go, do you mean the Aviva Lima?
Should we get on some questions?
Let's do it.
So much to get through this week. Thanks as always for all of your questions. Let's start with good old Aaron Brazier, friend of the channel. He says, statement and the question. A little bit greedy, Aaron, but we'll let you have it.
Okay.
Statement. Just as I think I'm out of this team for this year, results like this pull me right back in.
Good, but that's what we needed. But
I haven't finished yet.
Okay, sorry.
Maybe not a performance to especially remember, but a welcome 3 points. Question, along those lines, where should I sit with this season? Disappointed or optimistic?
Oh, I think I think at the moment, I would say give yourself the chance to be optimistic, but at the same time, understand the fact that it has so far been disappointing. You can't not be disappointed with how this season's gone, with the players that we've got at our disposal. And especially now that there's absolutely no excuses. We've got a fully fit squad, zero excuses. We have to be playing better football, okay? So, but what I would say, Jack, and this goes back to the comments, I don't know why I'm going Norfolk there, that I was saying earlier after the game of, I wanted us to lose, so David would... I don't think whether we lose or win affects David's job at the moment, to be honest with you, given the club's stance on potentially how this season is, with the transition that they've gone through above them.
Well, what I would say, and I think if you look at it as an overall picture, it's been incredibly disappointing. But this has been the confusing thing about this campaign, is there's been moments of real brilliance and excitement. You know, the Johnny Rowe goals, just getting to watch Gabriel Sara.
I'm just saying, don't shut the door, Jack.
No, absolutely.
I'm just saying to fans that are frustrated, I know it's shit. Trust me, I think it's shit too. Just keep that door ajar. Don't shut it all the way, because every now and then you'll open it and you'll go, oh bloody hell, it's a worldie from Johnny Rowe.
And that's the really difficult thing, because so much in football is black or white, but there's so much grey. And this season has been incredibly confusing. We don't know where we stand on any of it. I think to just get through it sane, you have to look at the moment. You have to look at a big picture and you go, right, I want change from a head coach point of view. I think we need overarching changes at board level. That's the big picture discussion that we can have when we're bored around the dinner table and on these podcasts. But for the things that you chat about down the pub with your mates, it's the breakout season of Johnny Rowe, it's Gabby Sara, it's getting to watch, Angus Gunn make brilliant saves, it's seeing Josh Sargent salute the Barkley. That's the stuff that brings you back. And that's the stuff that you'll remember. You won't remember the way we set up against Millwall at home in 5 years. It's that kind of stuff that you'll remember and you'll talk about in years to come.
George Hale says, that day in Hull was the most nervous but most enjoyable away day I've been to for a while. And I just want to say, George, I salute you, but I salute the 1,300 Norwich City nutters that went to Hull, given what we have witnessed in the last few weeks. 1,300 Norwich City nutters went to Hull, and I'm so happy that they were all rewarded with a win.
1,300 fans travelled a long way up the country to watch Norwich City. I couldn't even get Chris Reeve to travel 20 minutes to a warm living room to do a watch-along.
Ollie says, statement, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jack Reeve, get your wallet out. You will be owing Big C £1,000, of course, for the Johnny Rowe bet. He'll be the only reason I can think that he won't. Do we remind him what the bet is?
Yeah, go on then. Johnny Rowe to make the championship team of the season.
Yes. And
that's the bet.
And
if it happens, 1,000 Great British Sterling to Big C.
And at the moment, I think you're quite fortunate that Jack Clark's doing well, that Somerville has the ability to do, but these players are there, but perhaps
they could get Premier League moves.
Absolutely, I think, and hopefully they do in January, and then the Johnny Rowe bet is you may as well just pay it.
Well, I'm resigned to giving it over. I think if he continues on the trajectory he does, barring injury or move, which I don't think happens, I think he gets in that team.
I really want to talk about this one from the Vengo bus driver Terry. Yes, that's right, that's his name on X. Oi oi Savaloys, up and Norwich bin the Blues. Statement: Johnny Rowe is at least a £50 million player.
Here we go again.
Ben Napper's first major transfer hurdle must be making sure that we get every possible penny from a summer sale. If the price isn't right, he simply must stay here. Look, I agree with what you're saying, Vengo bus driver Terry. We need to lock him in the Colney cupboard. We need to lock Johnny Rowe in the Colney cupboard. But for me, I'm really interested to know, Jack, and also what the other Norwich fans think. Just for conversation's sake, how much do you think Johnny Rowe is worth at the moment?
Should we flip this to if a bid were to come in for X amount of money, what we'd accept?
All right, whatever you want then. Go on.
Well, I'm just saying, if a bid comes in this January, what's the minimum Norwich take? Because let's also remember that January fees are always inflated.
All right, well, anything for me at the moment, honestly, in January, given that he is pretty much the only joy of the season, I'd say if they accept anything below 25 in January, I'm outside the City stand knocking on the boardroom door.
I thought you were going to go a lot higher than that.
Okay. What are you going for?
Well, the fact that Norwich have said that they don't necessarily need to sell, I also think Johnny's incredibly mature, so I don't think he's going to be forcing any move. 40.
Let us know what you think Johnny's worth.
I think we need to look. So, how much was Buendia? 38. I think we sold him for.
I can't remember. Yeah,
and I think we look back on that and go, probably undersold him a little bit.
I don't know. I think it was probably. No, I don't know. I think it's probably fair, maybe.
I just think we don't need to sell. Johnny, I don't think we'll be desperate to go.
But for any suitors that are tuning into TNC, thinking, what are they saying about Johnny Rowe? First of all, awful player, absolutely rubbish, definitely
injury prone.
Yeah, oh god, no, you don't want to be taking risk on him. However, the real honest talk is perfect age, breakthrough season, which I want to go back to, by the way, in terms of goals.
Homegrown.
So mature beyond his years. English as well. Price goes up with that. Winger. Genuinely cares about the supporters. Super marketable, which is a thing in this modern age of football. Mate, Johnny, I remember when do you think we could be getting a record sale here?
I remember when we titled a podcast probably about 2-3 months ago, Gabriel Sara will be our first £50 million sale, and Darren Huckabee took huge offence to it. He was like, "You boys."
Yeah, but we love a Hucks debate.
Hucks, you watching? £50 million minimum for Johnny Rowe.
Do you actually mean that?
Yes.
Promise me you mean that?
Yes.
50 million. Do you actually mean that?
I'd take 45.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, fair play. Let us know if you agree or disagree. There we go. Let's go to
Stan.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Norwich play dirty? We kicked Hull out of their own stadium in that first half. It was beautiful to see. If Farke is the German Guardiola, then Wagner is the German Tony Pulis.
Oh, that's absolutely superb. Yeah.
Because we've got a long throw now in Sam McCallum as well. We are turning into Stoke City 2010.
Do you know what? That is the statement that I couldn't agree, that I've agreed with the most this whole season.
Yes.
Wagner is the German Tony Pulis. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you.
Wagonari.
He's even got the cap, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's even got the cap.
Got it all.
Perfect. No, I agree.
No,
I can't disagree with any of that.
Yeah, I think on another day, I think we look at that performance and we go, how unprofessional. We've had 2 players sent off. It's cost us the game.
Yeah.
Why don't we just be a little bit more professional about things? But because it's gone our way, we're appreciating Dimi Anulis elbows and Angus Gunn taking out their best striker.
Speaking of Angus Gunn, Robert Eagleton, name of the podcast so far, says, Angus Gunn, where would we be without him this season? Gone under the radar compared to Rowe, who's also been huge. Gunny makes huge saves every week to keep us in games that are as good as goals. I mean, I agree, Robert. And actually, I think he is a player where, and I think you said it in your post-match review video, Jack, which was brilliant again, by the way. Go and watch it if you haven't. Where I think that we need to probably be knocking on Angus's door now and saying, what do you want? Write it out, Angus. Like, you know, 'cause the boy needs a new contract, big time. Hell of a keeper. I definitely think I will stand strong on this hill all day long. He's the best keeper in this league, and by a mile, by an absolute mile. No one spits on his gloves. They don't. He's the best keeper in the league. And so, Norwich have got a job in their hands, not just keeping Gabby Sarah, not just keeping Johnny Rowe, but keeping Angus Gunn.
Yeah, I think, you know, we talk about play. We must keep like Gabby Sarah and Johnny Rowe. Absolutely. You know, you do forget about goalkeepers and the influence. Yeah. It's such a big role. And we've been so lucky for the last 15 years, really. We've pretty much, for the... barring maybe a little bit of time in sort of 2009, 2010, like we've always had a really good goalkeeper, whether that's been Krul or Ruddy or Robert Green or, you know, more recently Gunny.
Surprised you've not mentioned Remy Matthews.
Remy Matthews, who's of course doing fantastically well at Premier League Crystal Palace. Brilliant to see him get that Premier League move and doing great there. Could have done so much more here. Damon Claxton.
Yep.
Big Andy.
Oh, hello, Damon.
Hello, Damon. Big Andy hasn't played a single game for Nottingham Forest. Could be good to get him back on loan. Look, let's put that thing aside.
Interesting.
Should be the absolute poster textbook model of how not to progress your career, Andy Omobamidele. Like, if you're Johnny Rowe and a Nottingham Forest come knocking and go, we'll give you 25 million, double your wage, blah, 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 you say no. You just say no. And I feel... Look, I'm sure Big Andy's fine, but complete stall in his career.
Well, I know, but I think that's a really very difficult situation, Jack, because, you know, you've got to consider where he's come from and his sharp hockey stick graph into the ascendancy at Norwich City. I remember very well that goal against Leeds, which was awful. One of Daniel Farke's last games, thankfully, at the time. And I think, looking at where Norwich were at the time, I don't blame him.
No, I don't blame
him. I think I don't know what he's been advised, but, you know, Nottingham Forest was of course it was a gamble, but I don't think it's the end of the world for Big Andy, mate, because of his age, and I think he'll still go on to have a great career.
He's a good enough footballer, but, you know, it doesn't help that you can sit on the bench for a year. Would we get him back? Would I want him back on loan? Yeah, of course I bloody would.
Yeah, I'd have him back. I'd have him back on loan as well. By the way,
no, I don't think
love Big Andy, really nice guy as well. By the way, David Whiteside says, "How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood?"
Not bad.
Also, what is your ideal aim this season, and what is your realistic aim? So we won't answer the chuck wood comment, David, because we've not got the time, but. What is your ideal aim for this season, Jack, and what's your realistic aim? Well, of course, the ideal is that I actually just thought twice about promotion. That's weird, isn't it?
Well, the aim should be playoffs, fourth biggest wage bill in the league. Anything below that is a huge underperformance. The board said that playoffs should be the aim.
Yes.
That should be the aim. Look, it depends on... I think it all depends on who the head coach is. I really do, and it is boring just coming back to this. I think with an up and coming, exciting head coach, I think we do get in the playoffs. I think if Wagner's in charge, 9th, 10th, I think that's realistic.
Yep.
We're just in this cycle of.
I agree with you, mate.
Gets you excited, and then I'm just looking at West Brom and Leeds, and I'm going, if we put those performances like we have done against Southampton and Hull against those two, you just get beat.
Kind of linked to this, and I agree with what you've said there, David. California Canary, Mark Woodruff says, isn't it clear to everyone now that the owners are just treading water with Norwich City? while the takeover takes place behind the scenes. There's no point in going up this season, but championship status is essential. So Wagner is doing a brilliant job for them.
No, just disagree on every level.
Do you? Okay, go on then.
Absolutely. Well, you have, like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You stay in the championship, your best players leave.
Yes.
Your parachute payments stop.
Yes.
So you've got the fourth highest wage bill, and granted that will change when players leave. You've still got a really expensive wage bill with the players that we've mentioned before that we've brought in. So that starts to get slightly tricky. You're less sellable to players that you're wanting to bring in. Premier League has to be the aim. It has to be the aim.
And as I've said before, I think and this is the worry, and this is why, and I wish the board would listen more to fans. I think it's incredibly concerning when supporters are going, no, yeah, I don't want to go up anyway because we'll lose every week. What a crying shame that is. Then? What is the point in? Yeah, absolutely. What's the point in? What are we trying to do? Like, what do we love? Like, mate, there's no better thing. Remember, you mentioned it last time. That Man City at home game, that David versus Goliath situation. For me, there's no better feeling as a Norwich fan seeing your team try and get a result against one of the best teams in the world. I think it's great. Tom Jar Crispy says, statement, Angus Gunn is the best goalkeeper in the Championship. So Tom is agreeing with me. Tom, you clearly know your football opinions. Matt Gregory says, can you take Angus Gunn to Nando's and chat to him about a new contract? Says Matt Gregory, friend of the channel. New contract for Angus Gunn is a given, isn't it?
Well,
it's got to happen ASAP.
Well, it should happen. I mean, if you're Angus, are you signing on the dotted line? I don't think you are you?
Well, I think the club are incredibly fortunate that he's a Norwich City supporter. That's what I would say.
Yeah, which does hold weight. This is a nice comment from Daniel. It just says rave. Just bloody loved it last night. Of course, referring to Friday. Perhaps I just went into it with zero expectation. Loved how we grinded it out. Of course, the same issues discussed still apply, but strip it all back. What a fantastic evening watching Norwich on the telly. Love the spirit of that. And link to that, Jack, to again, another positive one, a rave from Tyler. I love a rave. We've not had many raves this season, have we? Rave. We're still unbeaten this year. And do you know what, Tyler? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Allow yourself. I know it's been shit. I know it's not good enough. I know it's not acceptable. But allow yourself to be positive when these wins come around. 2024, year of the Wagonari. Harry Brister. Hello, Harry. Says, question. Is there anything Johnny Rowe can't do? Answer, absolutely not. Dribbling through a ploughed field with the control and finesse followed by the finish. My word. I mean, yeah, Harry, what I would say is, I'm surprised it's not already on Pornhub. Yeah. I am. I'm surprised that it's not already on Pornhub. And if you're a farmer watching that, you're going, cool, prime spot to put some spuds in next season. I mean, what an absolute potato field that was. Link to that. I'll try and get through as many as possible. On the ball updates as Johnny Rowe. That's it. That's the statement. Yeah, agree. Oh, here you go. Another one. Jeffman98 statement. It's summer 2030. God, bloody hell. Jonathan, he's fast forward this. 2030. Statement. It's summer 2030. Jonathan Rowe has just scored the winning goal in the World Cup final. Never know. Norwich have just won the Europa League and Rowe is our top scorer. David Wagner is managing League 2 Ipswich. Life is good. On another note, I'm out of Lakens. That's very good, Jeff, man. I'll applaud that. That's very good. Last week we spoke about the lads from where were they from? Leighton Buzzard. Leighton Buzzard, and we were going. That's why you come back. Yeah. Because you're right. That could happen. Yes. That could what if you were a Manchester City fan in the early 90s, going up and down from Main Road, going, what's the point of all this? Yeah. You never know what's round the corner. Yeah. We could be very much on the verge of greatness. It doesn't take much. How much Lakers have you had? Doesn't take much. Look, for me, I don't think we see true greatness and progression until the Atanasio group are here. Yeah, but that's not far off. Yeah, true. Yeah. And then we'll be giving up work, following us around Europe. Oh, yeah. We're skint, but we've got a dream. Kazakhstan away. Benji says, statement. Barnes has been criticised a lot recently, and maybe fairly, but against Hull, he did everything right. Same goes for Duffy. Yeah, just a word on Ashley Barnes, Jack. Has come under fire.
fairly recently. I just think his contribution, not just on the pitch, but in terms of what he gives, the leadership, it's exactly what he was signed for. And we saw it against Hull. There was a brilliant moment where he won a corner just by pure passion.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to see, isn't it? Big bad Barnsley, the spirit of Barnsley.
Barnes is brilliant. I don't know why, but someone just popped into my head.
Go on.
And in a very strange, roundabout way, much like Ashley Barnes.
Should I be concerned here?
Slightly. Claudia Winkleman. Because I'll tell you why she's just popped into my head. Friday night football, right? Friday night football, brilliant, loved it. And then we recorded Traitors, right? But I'm looking at Claudia Winkleman, a mainstay on primetime television, got a Radio 2 show.
Right.
And whenever there's a show with Claudia Winkleman on, you go, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
You know, solid, consistent performer is Claudia. And I'm looking at Ashley Barnes and I'm thinking the same. He scored against Bristol Rovers. He knits together a dressing room. And I think if you're a TV producer,
I love that from you.
Who do we bring in? We bring in Claudia.
He knits together a dressing room. I love that from you.
And I think he does that.
One of your strangest ever analogies on the channel, that. But I love it.
I don't know why she popped into my mind.
Jay, who goes by the handle NCFC024, says, statement, just imagine how good we would be if we actually had a good manager. Well, look, we've spoken about that, basically, haven't we, Jack? That it would be good if we were unlocked. So many good questions. I mean, Barry Young has just put, Pompey fans going home at half-time. Delia, sing up Pompey. Yeah. See, this is the kind of thing, you don't need that. Those comments were so unnecessary, weren't they, Jack? They really were.
They were.
This week.
Yeah, big week. Another big week.
Yeah.
Big few weeks.
And another opportunity and another platform. Will Norwich City take their chance? I am very worried about this. And do you know what? I'm concerned about myself that I'm about to come out with this. I'm worried about Bristol Rovers away.
Why? Because it's kind of lose-lose.
Because of well, yeah. I just think it's, if you lose that game, you're instantly back into this toxic cesspit again. And by the way, and I'm not surprised, I don't blame people for being like that. I just hate having to criticise, and I really want to be positive. So look, what I hope for is we beat Bristol Rovers away. Of course we beat West Brom at home. But for me, imagine if you said hope's not around the corner.
Hope
Okay.
might be around the corner.
What about this for a little canary pipe dream, okay? Another shitty, dirty, horrible performance, but we beat Bristol Rovers away. Imagine if the story of the season was beating Liverpool at Anfield. I don't think it will happen. Yes, I'm questioning whether I've had any Lakens for breakfast. But yeah, you never know. Maybe that's the story of the season, Jack, that we beat Liverpool.
Maybe.
Wagner versus Klopp, his best man at his wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe it's written in the stars, Jack.
Maybe.
It's not, but you never know.
I must admit, and I really enjoyed Friday night, and I think often after really good nights, there's a bit of a come down. I'm looking forward to this week with not much excitement, because Bristol Rovers for me is lose-lose. Like, if you win, you've then got another game that you don't really want against Liverpool. I think it's like midday on a Sunday.
But an opportunity, Jack.
Oh, is it?
Well, don't get me wrong. It's likely that you will be embarrassed, of course.
Look,
but
I've very much gone from up for the cup, Bristol Rovers at home, to complete unnecessary game, potential for injuries to key players.
Of course.
And then West Brom, I've still got that Boxing Day game in the back of my mind, going, they just dominated us.
Yeah, they did.
How many times have we, on the Wagonari roller coaster, have you been at the top going, this drop's about to be amazing?
And it will continue.
Buzzing,
it will.
arms in the air, cheering. Oh, let's go. And then it gets to the bottom and it comes off the track.
And then we have a 20
collision.
Yeah, and then we have 25% possession at home.
Let me tell you the real, the devil in my mind, where it's going this week.
Go on.
Defeating penalties against Bristol Rovers.
Oh, Jesus.
2-0 defeat at home to West Brom. 30% of the ball. Like, that's where my kind of
that's where your head's
is going.
But where's your heart at, though?
Heart at is going, play the youth against Bristol Rovers, loss, get rid of the fixture congestion. and then a scintillating...
You're so anti-cup.
Scintillating performance, strongest 11.
Yeah.
We mix it up. Sargent on the score sheet. Get past West Brom. That's the dream week for me. Defeat to Bristol Rovers. Win against West Brom.
The other thing, another dream for me is that we sign a player. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I keep forgetting it's the January transfer window.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
Do you think that will happen?
I think we are. I think we are going to sign a couple, but as I've said before, I think it's going to happen late. Norwich City will not be the first option for players that we are attempting to sign. I think there'll be young players. I don't think we'll be signing old, experienced heads. And I think that it's actually more likely that we'll sell more than we'll buy as well. I would actually not be surprised if we sold 2 or 3. But again, I think it's going to come late into the window. I just want to finish on something, Jack. Okay. I want to build the anticipation, the excitement for something that's happening early February on
Wagner's
the channel.
Getting sacked. No?
Something is happening on the channel early Feb. Now, I can't share many, if any, details now, but all I will say is that it's one of the biggest, most exciting things that we've done on the channel. And Norwich City fans have to get involved. So stay tuned on Talk Norwich City. And by the way, if you've got to this point, don't forget this week's hashtag to see if you're a true TNC subscriber is...
Hashtag the CFAS. Like bass, but with an F.
Hashtag CFAS. Okay? Let's see hashtag CFAS all over social media this week. Thanks for watching. Johnny Rowe. Oh, by the way, buy a Johnny Rowe t-shirt as well whilst you're at it. Why wouldn't you?
Still on sale.
These will be...
collector's items.
These will be collector's... They're already collector's items.
Yeah.
But when Johnny Rowe wins the World Cup for England...
in 2030. We will be wearing it in Sweden for the Europa League final.
Oh, God, yeah. Remember, Johnny Rowe.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back next week for another podcast. We're looking back on Bristol Rovers and West Brom.
I've got this terrible feeling that next time we film the podcast, we would have lost both of those games. Oh, God.
Well, look, stick about to find out. Stay locked into all the TNC socials. And until then, stay safe, drink plenty of Lakens, and enjoy yourself. Bye-bye, everyone.
On the Ball City.